postman's been, so it's time to test some teeny tiny shocks. Stay tuned. Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. So the nice post people have been already, and my stuff that I ordered on Tuesday, I think, or maybe Monday, from Endura arrived on Sunday. So that's pretty good. Very pleased with that turnaround time. Hadn't thought it would be that quick actually, so I'll probably order direct from Endura in the future. We are going to be testing 3 sets of shocks today. They are the ones that I have on the Endura buggy that I showed in my last video. They are from a company called Zulan RC. That's my best Zoolander impression. They are 48mm, adjustable, apparently, telescoping shocks. I'm running them without any springs because when they had the springs in them, even the softest spring was far too stiff for the weight of the SCX24. So it just sat way up in the sky, which I didn't want at all. I wanted something that sat nice and low. I'm going to score all of these things in 3 different ways. So I'm going to go with build quality, value for money and performance. Simple as that really. Build quality is the first thing I'm going to score these 48mm shocks on. And on the face of it, it looks pretty good. They look like they're quite nicely machined. They're all aluminium. They came with three different sets of springs. I'm not running any springs on mine because all of the sets of springs were too stiff. So the truck sat very high up. They're nicely machined aluminium, and that's about where it stops. They're not very smooth at all. They tend to lock up quite easily. So I'm going to score these a 2 out of 5. All my scores are out of 5. So 2 out of 5 build quality. Price and value, pretty poor to be honest. I'm going to score this a 3. So I bought these directly off Amazon UK. Paid $18.99 at the time for a set of shocks, which felt like it was quite reasonable at the time, to be perfectly honest with you. But in hindsight, it was probably quite expensive, and I was just paying for the convenience of getting them the next day. But actually these are the most expensive set of shocks in the test today. And performance. So while I'm going through the performance, we will show you a little bit of running footage on my little test track. And they're not great. That's all I can say really. There's so much travel on them. They tend to kind of expand and kind of unload in situations that you don't want them. The body pops up. If the wheels get locked up and things like that, and then because the shocks are poor quality, it tends to stay locked up, and it's really annoying. So I really don't like them. So for performance, they're going to get a 1. The bonus points here are for the flex. So if you're into flex and articulation and you want loads of flex, then yes, you're going to get that with these shocks. So I've printed a little 3D printed flex ramp or articulation ramp, whatever you want to call it, and as hopefully you can see there, yes you can, I've got white markings. They are at 10mm increments from the flat surface that this is sitting on. So as you can see, no problem, it gets all the way up to the top of that. So if flex is your thing, then big long shocks are going to be the answer. So that's 65mm at the top there, so it has 65mm, probably a little bit more actually, before that rear lifts off. No, actually, no, 65mm seems to be about at its limit before the rear wheels start to lift. So I suspect this is going to win hands down on flex, but other than that, it ain't looking good so far. Shock set number 2 in the test is the Endura 32mm non-oil filled. So these are just purely mechanical friction shocks, whatever you want to call them. So first category, build quality, really nice. They're really nice quality shocks. I'm very impressed with them. They look good. Really nice colour anodizing on there, but that's just a personal preference thing. As usual with Endura, come with loads of spare bits of hardware, some nice metal pivot balls. Those pivot balls are a pain because they have those little tiny O-rings to hold them on, and if you've got big fat fingers like mine, that makes it quite difficult. But we got there. You know, it probably took 10 minutes, so not a huge amount of time to just swap those shocks over. And yeah, really impressed with them so far. They look really nice. So build quality, I'm going to give them a 4. Okay, so value for money. I paid the princely sum of $14, which is about £12 for these, which is a bargain. They are the cheapest on test here today. So they're going to get the highest score, 5 out of 5, because they're the cheapest. Does that necessarily make them good value? Yeah, I think it does in this case. They're really nice aluminium or metal shocks. 3 sets of springs, different spring rates. They come with the softest black springs on them, and they have silver and gold springs as well. I don't know which ones of those are the medium and which ones are the hard ones. I won't be using them. So yeah, I think it works. And you know, the false economy of getting them from Amazon because I could get them next day with the other set, just goes to show, you know, I ordered these on the 4th of December. They arrived on the 10th of December. So I didn't wait that long for them. It was less than a week. Can't complain about that. And it was free shipping. So value for money, big thumbs up for Endura, 5 out of 5. So in terms of performance, let's go and try them out on the crawler course. Considering these are standard size shocks, standard length at 32mm, I wasn't expecting a great deal of performance out of that. But it was really good. It got up the steeper climb on the course with relative ease. It needed a little bit of wheel speed occasionally, and there is a section in there that the wheels really bind into a little bit. With the telescoping shocks, when the wheel goes into that dip, you can see the front unload, and it just throws the weight back, and that's it. It's not going anywhere at that point. Whereas this one, although it didn't necessarily climb its way out of it, I was able to just give it a bit of wheel speed and a bit of throttle, and it would clear that bit of the obstacle and make its way to the top without any problems. There is still some axle bounce, so when it is struggling you can see the whole vehicle bouncing up and down as the wheels are spinning around. So maybe that's something that will get taken out when we go for the oil-filled shocks. Overall, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5 in terms of performance there. I think that was surprising and really good. So bonus category, the flex section, or articulation, whatever you want to call it. Actually, they're not bad. Clearly they're not as good as the telescoping ones, assuming more is better. But they still hit a pretty respectable, almost 50mm of articulation, which, given that these are 55mm tyres, means you're pretty much getting a full wheel height of articulation out of them. So yeah, they're not doing too bad, but I suspect they're going to come last in the articulation challenge. One thing I am a little concerned about is where I have the problem in the back of the vehicle with the motor hitting the links. That's basically like that all the time with these, because they're just so short. This was clearly happening with those telescoping shocks, but they still had lots of downward travel afterwards, whereas these don't. So without any further ado, let's get straight on to the oil-filled shocks. Now these are going to be a slightly different beast. They are obviously going to provide some damping. They're going to articulate more slowly, I hope. I'm hoping the springs are quite nice and soft still, and I may even try running them without the springs. But for starters and for this test, we will put the softest springs in. I think they're already on them, to be honest, and we'll see how we get on. Right, so this one's going to be pretty simple, to be honest. These are going to get exactly the same scores for all the other categories apart from flex and performance. They're just as well made as the previous Endura ones. They actually do come with a little bit of oil in them, although I've popped a little bit more in, so I'll have some 200 CST silicone oil that I've put in there. They come with all the spare sets of shocks. They're not the softest springs that they come with that are fitted on them, so you do have to get the softer springs out of the pack and fit those, but it takes seconds to do that. You don't even need any specialist tools, you can undo it with your fingers. So that's really nice and easy. Value for money, I think they were $1 or $2 more than the previous Endura ones. So given that these are bigger bore shocks, longer travel, oil filled with all the various different O-rings and all of that sort of stuff, loads of spare bits, just as good value. So it's purely going to come down to performance and if you want to use the flex points, then it'll come down to those as well. So let's have a look at the flex side of things. So unsurprisingly, these come second out of the 3 sets. There's plenty of travel there, plenty of articulation. They get just about onto the 60mm mark, which is pretty good really. So it's taller than one of the tyres at 55mm. I think that would be more than enough, maybe even a little bit too much. So out of the 3, unsurprisingly, the middle size shock gives you the middlemost amount of travel. So let's stop messing about with flex. Let's get over onto the course and see how they perform. That was a really interesting run. I could not for the life of me get up the steepest incline, and what is generally the most difficult part of that little course. I just couldn't get the thing to go up there with wheel speed, with super slow crawling. Didn't matter what I seemed to do, I just couldn't quite get the control and the traction. So I think that was really interesting. I expected those oil-filled shocks to be just that little bit more compliant and a little bit more stable. But unfortunately, I think the ride height, the length of the shocks, is a bit of a trade-off in this instant, and therefore, performance-wise, they only get a 3. And there we have it, folks. So a little not particularly scientific shock test with those 3 different types of shocks. So the cheap-ish, cheap, I call them cheap, they were the most expensive, but the no name, let's call them no brand shocks off Amazon, the telescoping 48mm I think they were, no 43mm, yes 43mm shocks, the Endura 32mm friction shocks and the Endura 39mm oil-filled shocks. Out of the 3, I think the winner is the 32mm shocks. So all you folks out there that are sitting on your stock shocks thinking, oh, I really must get these upgraded, maybe think again. There we go, that's it for today, folks. Thanks very much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found the content useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell to be notified when the next video eventually comes out, because I don't release them that often. If you have any comments, questions, hints, tips, tricks, anything you want to share, please don't forget to put them in the comments section below. We will see you shortly, probably for another SCX24 video, or maybe I might convert the TRX4M over to a Endura body as well. We'll see. Probably won't be till after Christmas though. So have a fantastic Christmas, or whatever festive season you celebrate at this time of year, and we'll see you in the new year. Bye for now.